everyone, it's Dr. Danielle Cooper here, plastic surgeon. Today I'm going to discuss the topic of trusting the process. So plastic surgery is a process. It's not something that just like overnight you can go out and be on the beach or walk down the runway. You have a healing process. It's a recovery process after surgery. Sometimes you may have an immediate result, usually after things like a breast augmentation or even liposuction, but you're still going to change over the next several weeks to months, and so you're not going to see your final result the day after surgery. It takes time, and so there's this principle of trusting the process, because sometimes things start off in ways that we don't really want them to. It's not the result that you may have been expecting initially, but as time goes on and as the body heals, then you start to develop the result that you want. So for example, as I mentioned to you before, breast augmentation. So for a lot of women with breast augmentation, they go in, they have their surgery, they wake up the next day, they have a bigger chest, they're happy, everything is great. But for some people, it may not be that way initially. And that typically tends to be more common if you're putting your implants underneath your muscle. And the reason that is because your muscle, your chest muscle is not used to having an implant underneath it. So at your surgery, whenever we put that implant underneath the muscle, that muscle is not happy, it's contracting, it's going to pull everything up and high. And so you may come out of surgery and say, oh my gosh, why are my implants way up to my clavicle? That's because your muscle is not used to having those implants, and it's contracting and it's spasming, and so it's pulling, it's tightening over the implant, it's pulling everything up. It can take up to like 3 months or more for the muscle to finally relax and let the implants drop and settle into a more natural position. So there's this process where you're going to start off with your implants really high, and your breast tissue may be low compared to where your implant volume is, but over time the implants will drop, and then it will become more harmonious with your breast tissue, and you'll have the result that you're expecting. Same thing happens with other procedures. So even with things like liposuction, we use fluid to help loosen up the fatty tissue whenever doing liposuction. So that fluid is still in your tissues. You're swollen after liposuction. It can take months for all that swelling to finally go down for you to be able to see your final shape. Every month, things should get better, but initially you're gonna still be swollen. You're not gonna have your final result, the day after surgery. It takes time to get to that point. Even things like a tummy tuck, even though we're pulling that skin off, yes, initially now you'll wake up the next day and you won't have that overhanging skin, but your abdomen is going to be swollen, and you're going to say, I thought I was going to be snatched, like why am I so full? And it's because everything is swollen after surgery. Again, it's going to take time for that swelling to go down and for you to see your final shapes. So you have to trust the process. And even with the whole healing process, sometimes things can happen where you have a complication that neither your surgeon or yourself had expected or anticipated. Sometimes things just happen, and that can also delay your recovery and delay your final results. So that's just something to keep in mind with plastic surgery in general. It's not always an immediate result. More than likely, there's going to be a recovery and healing process that you have to go through in order to see your final results.